Welcome to Rauta's ZINE reviews. It says book reviews, but book zines, all the stuff, all goes together. Why so? Well, because we have plenty of reading here. The first issue of Bardo Methodology zine came out, I think, late spring, early summer, maybe 2019. I got my copy with the issue number 5, which was, or still is, the recent one. So here we have number 1 also. I previously reviewed issues 2 and 3 in one episode, then 4 and 5 obviously. And now the circle is kind of a complete with the number 1. So, if you're familiar with the reviews, Bardo reviews, you pretty much know what to expect. I'm not gonna probably say anything new here. And if you are familiar with the zine already, you probably know what to expect me to say. So let's hope you're a new timer, first timer, here to get a glimpse of a Bardo Methodology zine. So, as always, we'll start browsing a little bit of what this zine is about. Here it actually says that this is second printing. There you have it. So it's already a little bit kind of outdated when it comes to these interviews. Here is the full list. As you can see, interesting names from black metal names, mostly to labels, and also beyond that. I actually find this particular issue to be one of the more interesting ones when it comes to the content here. It's kind of hard to browse it in a way that I actually see what I'm doing, but I'll try to give you a little bit of glimpse what's going on here. It doesn't make any sense for me to just show you every picture here or every page, because I mean, it's not like you're gonna read it anyway here. Just to give you an idea how the layout actually looks like. It's very classic Bardo in the terms that not much have changed during 5 issues, and I guess it's mostly a good thing. Now let's just open some random page here so you get the idea how this looks like. As you can see, this is the full page. Now this is at least readable, depending on, of course, which screen you're using. Are you using phone, pad, or TV maybe, computer? The point here is to show the font is quite small. For me, I don't have eye problems, but to be honest, if I was reading this in darker place, I would probably have a hard time. Now it's, at least for my eyes, it's like on the verge. Go too much smaller and I would probably need a pair of glasses. Too much bigger and the amount of pages would be ridiculous. Now this is something like 65 pages. 62 says here, but then when you count index covers and all that stuff, let's call it 65 to 70 all in all, because after all, here's the first page. So 70 pages with this small font and quite large pages. I mean, this is not your typical zine. I don't have here anything for a comparison close by, but I would say there are plenty of zines which are, say, half the pages maybe, but the font is like 3 times, 4 times this big. So one could say like 1 page on those pages equal like only like 1/3 here. Now, this is obviously just for the layout and the size and all that stuff. What really matters is the content worth reading. Well, that is obviously a question that requires an answer based on what do you think about extreme metal, black metal mostly, because Bardo is mostly about black metal bands, black metal artists related to black metal one way or another. Of course, there are bands that are more related to, say, heavy metal, or just old school metal. The same thing applies to some of the labels that have been, going through with the pages. And I would say this is still, and even this first issue is, I mean, one of the better things I've ever read in the zine world related to black metal. I mean, this is even kicking ass of most of the commercial things. Now, this is obviously a kind of a tricky thing to say because it depends what you're after with your reviews, interviews, and whatever. Now, there are no reviews on Bardo, so just disregard that comment. But the point here is, if you are for more commercial kind of output, if you're more into like current things, like what's going on with the band nowadays, how is it tour life, how was recording your latest album, and all that stuff, then you would be reading the wrong zine if you were into Bardo. Bardo is more about kind of timeless things, sometimes very, very focused on certain ideas, like how this band or artist came into being, how they defined their career, how was the first steps taken, and all that stuff. Now, many commercial zines are, or even magazines, are more about way more surface level things. So I think these two kind of different medias, if you will, they are very much more like supporting one another rather than competing about the content, actually. What I find so relatable with Bardo's interviews is that once he, the mastermind behind the whole zine, once Bardo goes kind of deep with its topic, I find that more fascinating because that's my policy in doing. I'm not saying I'm doing the same quality, obviously not. I think Mr. Göransson, the main guy, he is more in depth. He does way better background check than I would ever do, mostly because I'm lazy, but also I don't find myself reading that much in general. I mean, about bands. My thing is more diverse, versatile, and all that stuff. So I totally respect and value what he's doing with the magazine. But then again, the downside is that if you just want some light reading, like get some nice overall feeling, surface level thing about your favorite artist or band, this is totally kind of a wrong kind of a issue. I know that there are lots of people who find this kind of a too heavy because this is as much as the content goes, you know, the pages, the font, the questions, and all that stuff. This is kind of a like a book. I've said it before, and I can keep repeating it until I probably get bored. But I think it's worth mentioning. So for your pennies, there's lots of content to be read, but don't expect just, you know, browse this quickly through like your daily magazine, like, okay, this and that, like, okay, I'm finished and all that stuff. This is more like you read slowly one interview, then you start getting these ideas in your head, pondering them back and forth, maybe reread some parts again and all that stuff. I think both good and bad. It shows the good sides of an artist, but also the bad sides. With some artists, you are like totally relatable, like, oh shit, I'm thinking exactly like that this particular artist. And with some people, you're like, man, they are such douchebags. Not necessarily douchebags, but you might be thinking like, okay, this worldview is so far away from me. So I mean, once again, it can be a double-edged sword because once you figure out your favorite artist is not supporting the kind of ideals or values or whatever you are into, and he might be even opposed to what is your personal worldview, it can really crush your feeling towards some of the bands. I don't think it has happened to me. Maybe I don't care enough. But actually, it has been very supportive with me, you know, thinking some of the bands, how they figure out. For example, MGLA, Amva, which is featured here. I think it was very much relatable to me. I was like, okay, these guys seem to think very, very much like me when it comes to creating the music and lyrics and all that stuff. So it can be very empowering feeling when you read these kind of in-depth interviews. So what can I say? I am still a big fan of Bardo's way of creating interviews and making these articles. The only tiny flaw which I must mention, I guess, is that now if we have a typical interview here, there are no kind of like I mean, all the text is like one big block. There are no paragraphs or kind of a like what are the called? This not the headline, but how these are separated into different parts. So it's like one big block of text. Sometimes the questions here might be bolded, but way too often, as you can see from here, like starting from here to here and then here, it's all just one block of text. And if you're like me, you're a sporadic reader, you look when might want to read some 5 minutes there, some 10 minutes different place, it becomes quite tiresome to figure out where should I pause it and how long should I read, blah, blah, blah. But these are all like really minor things. Some might be even saying that you're reading it the wrong way, you are supposed to read the whole interview one go and all that stuff. Well, good for you if you have the luxury and time in your life. I don't. But that doesn't mean I'm not liking the content. Very minor thing which I have noticed is going on through all the issues from 1 to 5. So what can I say? Looking forward very much to reading number 6. If you have still missed Bardo by this review, now it's your chance to check out the ZINE or at least the website, and you will know what real high quality content is all about. Thank you for watching this review. See you soon with more stuff coming your way. Take care.